The next question is from Julie Haywood. In the lead up to May's council election, the Labour Party complained of hate speech and homophobia following a council's literature posing LGBTQ plus education in schools. More recently, Zahid Chauhan, the new mayor, recently stated, Great Britain is called Great Britain because it has great people who coexist together, people from different backgrounds, people from different faiths, people from different religions. They all come together in a town historically divided. The Labour Party's position should be applauded, and hopefully the council leader and her cabinet will back up their words with actions. Therefore, number 1, will AROOJ SHAH, in her capacity as leader of Oldham Council, join Oldham's Pride March and support Oldham's LGBTQ plus community? Will Dr. Chauhan, in his capacity as mayor of Oldham, join Oldham's Pride March and support Oldham's LGBTQ plus community? Number 3, will Mohan Ali, in his capacity as cabinet member for education and skills, join Oldham's Pride March and support Oldham's LGBTQ plus community? With number 4, will AROOJ SHAH's Oldham Council confirm that every member of our cabinet is committed to the rights of Oldham's LGBT plus community? As the mayor, Dr. Chauhan rightly referenced, Oldham is a town in Great Britain. Great Britain is an inclusive society where we do not discriminate against people because of their sexuality. Will our town's leaders join Oldham Pride in fight against homophobia? I call upon Councillor Mushtaq to reply.
Okay. That question specifically, it makes reference to pride, and you can hear it there in the question. There's no reference to the religion or the ethnic background of any of the people that Julie Haywood makes reference to. And furthermore, she doubles down and widens it, wanting the position of the council. Where she picks on AROOJ SHAH, it's in her capacity as leader. She says it in her capacity as leader. When she picks on Dr. Zahid Chauhan, it's in his capacity as the mayor. And when she singles out Mohan Ali, it isn't because he's a Muslim, it's in his capacity as the cabinet member for education, responsible for the education of our children. Those 3 council members were the right ones, and even then she widens it to also include the entire council's position. So there in the words, there's no ambiguity. For reasons only known to AROOJ SHAH, it's Shahid Mushtaq who stands up to answer the question. AROOJ SHAH should have answered it, or Mohan Ali should have answered it. Instead, a person who wasn't even asked, because no one asked Shahid Mushtaq. We didn't want the deputy to go, we wanted the leader to go. But Shahid Mushtaq stands up, and this is the response he gives. And this is not just a standards complaint, but this is a complaint to the Labour Party head office for homophobia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I've never been in front of the Standards Committee, so if what I'm about to say lands me there under your watch, I apologise in advance, as you are my friend and ward colleague. I challenge the premise, the origins, the ideology and the genesis of this question. It names only Muslim councillors in a pathetic...
It names only Muslim councillors in a pathetic attempt. It doesn't name Muslim councillors. It names the leader of the council, the mayor and the education portfolio holder for specific reasons. That they are Muslim is irrelevant, but he wants to make himself and his mates a victim. This shiny shoot-wearing scumbag is absolute vermin. Everything that is wrong with this town is amplified and personified through Councillor Shahid Mushtaq. A Pakistani who screams racism when there is no racism to hide his homophobia. This is what we are witnessing now.
And failed attempt to divide.
Failed attempt to divide. Julie Haywood quotes Dr. Zahid Chauhan's statement about Great Britain is being great because of how different communities come together. Where is the division in Julie Haywood's question? This man, well, not just this man, look how his Labour Party colleagues are sat there next to him. Elaine Taylor is sat there next to him whilst he hides behind Islamophobia, I suppose. Hides being homophobic behind Islamophobia. Or am I reading this wrong? because it was a simple yes or a no, and he refuses to answer the question because he has decided that the question is meant to divide people, and it's racist. No one can read that question and go to that conclusion. And remember, he has a number of minutes to respond, and he still doesn't answer it. So I'll play the rest of it through.
Let's be clear, this question does not stand up for the LGBTQ plus community. It does not stand up for Oldham pride, but most importantly, it does not stand up for the values of a liberal democracy.
Professor Mushtaq, it will be helpful if you answer the question.
I'm getting to it. Mr. Mayor, you speak of Great Britain, of Britain being great, and that is exactly what this question is directly attacking. The greatness of this great nation. Why are
So we are now, Julie Hayward now is attacking the greatness of the United Kingdom by asking if the leader of the council will join Pride. Apparently it's a racist question, and we're now attacking the very values of our country by daring asking our civic leaders, who just happen to be Muslim. They weren't asked because they're Muslim. They were asked because they are our civic leaders. This man is a homophobe, isn't he? And he's too arrogant, or he believes he can get away with being a homophobe by hiding behind the race card or the Islamophobia card. If people like me are victims of racism or Islamophobia in this country, it's because of people like him. People like Councillor Shahid Mushtaq.
the origins, the ideology and the genesis of this question? It names only Muslim councillors in a pathetic and failed attempt to divide. Let's be clear, this question does not stand up for the LGBTQ plus community. It does not stand up for Oldham pride, but most importantly, it does not stand up for the values of a liberal democracy.
Professor Mushtaq, it will be helpful if you answer the question.
I'm getting to it. Mr. Mayor, you speak of Great Britain, of Britain being great, and that is exactly what this question is directly attacking. The greatness of this great nation. Why are we referred to as in the Western world as a nation seen as a leader of the free world and a leader in the free world? It's because questions like this can be asked. It's because people that look like me can stand up in chambers like this and speak freely without fear of torture or death.
So he is claiming he's the victim and he can voice his opinions free of torture or death. He does neither risk torture or death, by the way. He's protected. Do you see what he's doing? Can you see what he's doing?
Things that makes Britain great, Mr. Mayor, is that we live in a society where every one of us is innocent until proven guilty. The question, Mr.
Innocent until proven guilty. Is anyone accusing anyone of a crime here? Is anyone accusing anyone of a crime here?
Mayor, is a direct attack on that fundamental premise upon which our free society is built. Mr. Mayor, this question is effectively accusing you and others of being guilty, insinuating that because of your faith, culture, appearance and the way of life, you are anti-LGBTQ+, even homophobic, and asking you...
That is not what the question does at all. It asks if you're going to Pride in your capacity of the civic positions you hold. This man actually should be suspended from the Labour Party because of this speech. He won't be, because the gangsters run this town and they can do what they want. McMahon will protect him. Debbie Abrahams will protect him. And the Pakistani bloc vote will protect him. He's doing exactly that, isn't he, Derek? He's gaslighting. You didn't mention any of this, Julie. Don't for 1 minute, don't for 1 second dare question what you did. You did none of this.
...no, demanding that you prove your innocence. They know, Mr. Mayor, that when you treat your patients in your capacity as a GP, you do not treat them on the grounds of their race, gender, or sex.
Councillor Mushtaq, when I'm speaking, please don't speak. Can you withdraw your words? Because it's not accusing the question. Question is asking.
Can you withdraw your words? So even the mayor is telling him to withdraw his words because the question is not accusing anyone of anything. Does he withdraw his words?
Insinuating.
Okay.
Oh, apparently it's insinuating. No. Look at Harry Caftell's face. Look at Eddie Moore's face. Look at the borough solicitor with his head in his hands. They know the consequences of this if we have the courage, the thought and the dedication to hold this outrageous behaviour to account.
That's the word.
You're asking the question. Please withdraw your words. I did say that whether you're my friend, colleague, this side or that side, everyone will be treated fairly. So
yeah, no, that's fine. They know.
So he's not withdrawn the words. You can see he's asked for him to withdraw the words. He's not withdrawn the words.
They know
you
that
might not clap later on, you know.
Mr. Mayor, when you treat your patients in your capacity as a GP, you do not treat them on the grounds of their race, gender or sexuality. You treat them all equally, based on their need. They know that Councillor AROOJ SHAH leads a borough that is proudly diverse and represents all communities within the borough. They know that Councillor Mohan Ali, as Cabinet Member for Education, works hard.
Sorry, you're out of the time, Councillor
Am I?
Yes, apologies.
You get the point. Thank you very much.
No, I...
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. Point of order, Mr. Mayor. Can I have a point of order, Mr. Mayor?
What is the point of order, Councillor?
I think you did ask the councillor to answer the question. I don't think he has.
Well, Council is in agreement. Can I give him another 30 seconds to very briefly answer yes, no to the answer?
I can read out the last line of my speech.
Yes, please.
Mr. Mayor.
Please let him speak, please.
I reject the premise of the question and I reject the question. Thank you.
He rejects the premise of the question and he rejects the question. He rejects asking if our town's leaders will support Pride. This is your Labour Party deputy leader. This is your Labour Party deputy leader. To give Brian Hoban, he's the one who raised the point of order. Graham Sheldon, who gets paid £20,000 or £30,000 as the official opposition, didn't raise the point of order. Howard Sykes, Sam Al-Hamdani didn't. This was textbook homophobia, hiding behind racism and Islamophobia. Oldham Council is homophobic. Based on that response, because remember the question was about not just those named individuals, but if the council would be supporting Pride. And Councillor Shaheed Mushtaq spoke on behalf of the council and he rejected the premise of the question, he rejected the question. So therefore, officially, Harry Caftell might not like this, but officially, as a consequence of that, because the councillors speak on behalf of the council, the deputy leader there spoken in the capacity of the council. Oldham Council is homophobic. If you're a gay employee of the council or are you related to a gay employee of the council, or you're a gay council taxpayer, this council is not for you. It's homophobic. He should be sacked, he should be suspended, Denise. But who's going to do that? Who's going to do that? Who's going to fill in the complaint forms? Who's going to submit them? Who's going to do that, Denise? He's done what he's done because he knows he's above the law, because they are above the law.
I was disappointed that this evening has proved how detached this administration is from the rest of its constituents, because we invite public questions here, but unfortunately tonight I think the first 3 or 4 public questions actually went unanswered. And it's credit to you, Mr. Mayor, that you tried to get an answer out of one of the councillors, but we failed. It's credit to you how you've dealt with the member of the public. Now, I understand that questions can be difficult and uncomfortable, but they should at least be answered. And I'll ask the leader of the council to look to ensure that in future all questions are answered, uncomfortable or not, because the public deserve a response when they put a first question forward.
Councillor Shah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'd like to thank Councillor Hoban for his question. Councillor Hoban always presents himself as a member of the people in this chamber and has a completely different relationship with people when he's in the corridors.
Okay, so she's saying Councillor Hoban is two-faced. In the council chamber, he presents himself as on the side of the people holding the council to account, and that in the council chambers he's brown-nosing her and her colleagues. That's what she just said. Brian Hoban should have raised a point of order on that.
That's an important acknowledgement. I'd also like to say it's really disrespectful, and I take it really personal, that he is making an assumption that people across this chamber, A, worry about answering difficult questions because they don't, because we have.
Well, that's a lie. You've seen it there for yourself. She's refused to answer questions. She's repeatedly refused to answer questions, and her colleague, SHAID MUSHTAQ, has claimed we're racist for asking a question.
We have been doing for a long time, but also that we do not respect the public enough to answer their questions. People who do not get their answers questioned in this chamber do get a written response, and actually...
Julie Hayward won't get a written response. The question's simple. Where are you going to Pride? You don't need a written response. A one-word answer. Yes, AROOJ SHAH. No, AROOJ SHAH. Or I don't know yet. Which is more than one word, but you know, it's a yes or a no, isn't it?
If we spent more time allowing people to ask their questions instead of like doing anything else, we'd probably get through more questions. We've had over, I think, 17, 18 questions for this council meeting. We don't get through them because we're continuously interrupted. There's continuous interruption in any of them responses. But to say that people haven't answered them is not right. What we met, there might be a disagreement or a different sort of perception when it comes to people not liking the answer that they get. So because they don't like the answer they get,
there's nothing about liking an answer. We didn't even get an answer.
Their question hasn't been answered. I don't agree with that. I will always respect the public. I entered politics to do what was right, no matter how difficult that may be, and I will continue to do so. And I will go as far as saying this: I don't believe any person in this chamber, across any political ideology or political party, does not respect public questions. I just want to accept that premise. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. Can I come back on that, please, Mr. Mayor?
It can be personal clarification, but no point of order.
It's clarification, Mr. Mayor. The council leader stood up and said that all the questions were answered, and Councillor MUSHTAQ stood up. You asked him to say yes or no, and he refused. So he hasn't answered the questions that he was asked.
Okay, the next question is from Independent Group Leader.
First time Martin speaks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Does well. Does really well.
Like Councillor Holbin, I had a predetermined question which I was going to answer, but like my fellow councillor here, the events tonight has really opened my eyes. It's my first time in the chamber, as you may be aware. So, personally, I'm a straight-talking person who likes a concise and straightforward answer. So I'd like to ask Councillor Shah, will herself, the Mayor, and Councillor MUSHTAQ be attending the Pride celebrations in Oldham? Yes or no?
Councillor Shah.
So this is to AROOJ SHAH.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I thank Councillor Hinds for his question. And actually, for somebody who's spoken for the first time in chamber, he's done it very well.
She's condescending, isn't she? For the first time he's spoken in council, he's spoken very well. She's condescending, isn't she?
I do agree with the fact that sometimes all responses aren't concise, but everything's not straightforward, sometimes detailed.
Asking if you're going to Pride couldn't be any more straightforward, AROOJ SHAH. It's a yes or a no. If you're refusing to answer the question, then by that, I can only infer that you're a homophobe. It's a yes or a no. Are you going to Pride? Not whether you'll represent gay people if they come to you. Will you promote them? There's a difference. There's a difference between representing a minority and treating them fairly and equally, and to one that is promoting them, because that's what Pride is. We promote their rights to exist, and we stand in solidarity alongside them.
Is required. As far as the question in terms to the Pride event goes, I would certainly say this. I think the Mayor himself has been really clear, really open, that he will be attending.
So the Mayor's going, but we didn't just ask about the Mayor, we asked about the others.
The Pride event. I also don't think that Councillor MUSHTAQ's response was any way in attempt to not answer the question. I think
he spent 6 minutes not refusing to say yes or no and claiming the question was racist. And we were racist for asking it.
what we do have to understand about the premise of that question, Councillor Hinds, and I'm happy to have a further conversation with you, because I do respect where you're coming from.
Further conversation with you off line off record. He's asked a question. Answer the fucking question. Answer it. That's exactly what it is. She knows, same as Councillor Mushtaq, that they will lose their seats because the communities they come from are homophobic. And therefore, look, I am a leader. A reluctant one, but I am a leader. The role of a leader is to take your people with you, and when they have done something wrong, demonstrate them that they have done something wrong, and they have to get better. I've done that with many of you. Some of you have rejected it and gone away. Fine. Some of you have gone on a very difficult journey, and I respect you more so. But I have done it.
It's important is more about the emotive attack and the personal attack that is clearly been there.
Was the emotive attack or the personal attack? Not whatsoever. It's a straightforward question.
To pit communities against each other. Every single community in this borough, and I'm a leader for every single community in that borough, no matter who you are, no matter what your beliefs are, no matter what your sexual preference is, I will represent every single person in this borough.
Representing is different from promoting. How? And the question is, are you going to Pride, AROOJ SHAH? Yes or a no? Again, refuses to answer.
There are various events. The council has always funded those events.
We're not on about whether the council has funded those events. Who's asked about whether the council has funded or not? We're asking you, are you going to Pride?
Partook in those events.
We're not on about whether the council has partook in those events. We're asking you if you're going to Pride.
Louis Hamlet is a member of that committee.
We're not asking if someone else is going to Pride. We're asking if you're going to Pride.
Be able to vouch for the same thing too.
We're not asking Louis Hamlet to vouch for anything. We're asking you to vouch for yourself.
Always respect all events, fund all events, and attend all events. What I will say, Councillor Hinz, is that, maybe attend, and you will see that people who are able to be there will be there.
Are you going or not? Are you going or not? Or are you a homophobe? You're a homophobe, aren't you? Or you pander to homophobes. You're scared of speaking out against the homophobes in your community, aren't you, AROOJ SHAH? You want to talk about misogyny, but you rock up to events with just men. You play these isms when it suits you for your own purpose, don't you? It's a Labour Party trait, identity politics, and using it for their own values, for their own benefit when it suits. But when it comes down to it, you're not for the gay, are you? You're not for the pink, are you, AROOJ SHAH? Because if you were, you would simply say, I will be at Pride. I will be at Pride. But you can't say it, can you? Shame on you. Shame on this woman.
Also, I'd like the person who actually initially proposed the question to also attend, so she can be witness to that too. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much.
So she's throwing it back to Julie. How dare Julie isn't the elected leader of Oldham Council, you disgusting, disgraceful mobsters moll. That's what you are. You're a disgusting, disgraceful mobsters moll who brazenly hangs off the arm of a convicted heroin dealer. And heroin destroys lives, destroys families, rips apart communities. Look at her, the way she's sitting down. Outrageous response to Mark Ince. He asked a straightforward question. Are you going to Pride? Are you going to Pride? And I think it's clear she is not going to Pride. Because she does not support the gay people.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.